So where are we? We're we were still doing the Matnas Chelko in this one. Is that right, Brian?
We started Esrim Va'arba.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, I had a Shabbos
got...
guest. They wanted to know if this year is only for men. I said I'll ask.
Listen, if a woman wants to listen in, yeah, but not on the video.
What if they identify as a man?
But today you don't know what's a man and a woman. Okay. Okay, so I think we were on page. We're talking here. A very powerful thing that happens to, I don't know, talk to me a lot, this idea of davening and putting your heart into davening and knowing what the davening means. And okay, so then in other words, this number 24 was broken up into three really parts. Make a cheshbon hanefesh about inyani yedias elokim v'toirosai, inyani tefillah, and then he goes on over here to talk. That's where we're up to. V'chein tasa b'divrei chachomim v'hakabbalah in the regular sefer. In the regular sefer, this mark here. You have to examine, delve into their words. If you don't understand something, don't. This is on page Reish Mem Aleph in the Leif Tov. Don't blame it on them. Rather, realize it's because you don't understand it well. And I think I told Brian that when I was a bacher, Yaakov Kamenetsky came speaking the yeshiva I was learning at here in Eretz Yisrael. He said in his days, no one would express themselves. He learned in Slobodka. And nobody would express and say, Pesos doesn't make sense. Nobody use that term when Pesos are. I don't understand Pesos, right? Pesos doesn't make sense. Today we batter around these expressions, So he's saying that a person, if you have a difficulty in the Divrei Chacham and Tarsha B'Peh, because the shortcoming isn't there, it's you. And don't rely, on how you understood it initially when you were a child, right? And so now, based on that, you have problems. So, rather demand from yourself. You have to re-understand it. As if you're just starting again to learn it now. Those things that you do understand, engrave it in your memory and review it. And those things that are not clear, so do your homework. Go to the Chachamim in your generation of Yimidas Havanoska Hanoichach is based on your understanding today. You matured. Don't learn it the way it used to be, and now take it to the next level. Like if you show you to know Glachko Bekatnuschon, that's the way you used to ask when you were a child. Was his Galucha Me'atorim Divya Nevim V'Chachamim Soide Shahoya B'Evshoroscha Lahasig Adealimut Shnimdo Escha B'Tchias Patluscha. And in this way, you'll be able to now have new. This is the word of soides. I mean, new depths into things that you didn't have when you originally learned it. Then your mind wasn't mature enough yet. A person's mind develops, and what you could understand when you're 10 years old, 15 years old, 25 is different. And a person has am I still learning it as a 10-year-old or as a 15-year-old, or my mind has matured, and am I taking it to the next level?
Is it an issue of understanding it, or it's agreeing with it. Meaning, if Tosos is saying something that seems to be contradictory to whatever's being learned, because I know that's something that was for me. Like, it's like it wasn't like, okay, I don't understand what he's saying, versus this seems to be incorrect based on the understanding of what the Gemara is coming in. So, like, what's the definition of what we're looking at here?
Right. So no, so in other words, what he's saying is that you, with your understanding today, whenever wherever we're holding, you have to first realize, right? He goes on actually, and he says, "But this patel ischa gavoska lachshav, don't let your gaiva bint you." That your mind hasn't really matured more than when you were younger. Now, so this is not relevant to what I was going to say. Let's leave that for a minute. He's saying that at every level, so you have to you have to go with the hanacha. Taisus knew what he was talking about. Like it's really, it's not even arrogance, it's foolishness to think that Taisus didn't know the Gemara way better than me. And if I'm finding that Taisus seems to be saying something different than the Gemara, I'm misunderstanding Taisus, or I'm not understanding Taisus. He was, I mean, there's no question, right? I mean, that he was way greater than anything I could ever become. And between him and me, hundreds and thousands of great people have learned Tosos, right? So, and they didn't write, oh, take this Tosos out because he's not understanding the Gemara, right? So it leaves it for my humility to say, well, I don't understand Tosos. I'm obviously missing something major here. And other of them, if I figure it out, I'm going to have a whole new insight into the Gemara. I've been understanding the Gemara on a very superficial level, and just that moron, a little bit, that's what he's saying here. Let me now, because I'm so much more mature, let me figure this out, and I'm going to find out that there's a whole different understanding of Gemara that maybe I was even mistaken in the way I was approaching it until now. That's what we do with the Rishonim, right? And many times that there are different understandings of the Gemara, because the Gemara itself, written by Amoraim, has many different levels and different interpretations that are all encapsulated in there. And each Rishon, I'll tell you, my Rebbe Moshe Shapiro once told me, he gave me a definition of what's Bekias and Be'iyun. This was in his thing. His Bekias was learning the Gemara and seeing everything that's written on it. And Be'iyun was learning the Gemara, Rashi Tosas, and then picking another Rishon and learning the whole Masechta with that Rishon, seeing how that Rishon, how his sheet and how he saw it, learned up the whole Gemara, and in that way you get a whole new picture. This is the sheet of Tosas. This is the sheet of Rashi. This is the sheet of the Rashba. Right? You're learning it through their eyes. So there's no such thing as Tosas didn't understand the Gemara. Right? It just, maybe we have a preset on what we think the Gemara is saying, and therefore we're not flexible enough to open our mind to a whole new approach. That if I could, and I could look through the Gemara through Tosas' eyes, I'll see that the way Tosas understood, there was a whole new understanding. And that's really the cheshbon nefesh we're making here. How am I doing these things? Where am I holding? Am I still, in Kita Aleph, or no? I'm taking everything, my davening, my learning, everything to the new level of my maturity, where I'm holding. So let's see what Rav Matisyahu adds here to this paragraph we just learned. So he says over here on page Kuzayin, person holds himself back milachsar to review ulumot kol dvarim elu. Even though he says the first reason why you don't do it is because laziness. A person is inborn with laziness, and it's not easy. No actions is easier than yes action. Rabbeinu he says, but the Chovos haLevavos is writing here another level, another oimek, another depth in the nefesh ha'adam. Why he's not doing this, why he's not relearning the Torah, right? And, as he understands now, his mind is matured, right? We all hope that our minds have matured and we can understand things on a much deeper level, on a more mature level than we did years ago. So that's what he's saying, that the Chovos haLevavos writes here. Oh, and that's the next paragraph. So let's see it in the Leif Tov on page Reish Mem Beis. V'al tifte oischa davoscha. Chovos haLevavos here is adding this level of gaiva. Don't let your gaiva fool you to think that no, I understand. I understood then. I understand now. My mind hasn't really matured. I knew. I always knew. I was always a smart guy, right? And I haven't matured more than when I was, let's say, a teenager or a young adult. And understanding that you have in your mind from when you were younger, any won't change because I've always been a real smart guy and I understood it then. So, like, that's the understanding. Is this thought process, and I skipped a few words because I don't know how to translate them. They came, I guess, and to think that what I thought then is strange, I'm not willing to accept that because that would admit that I didn't know everything. He says, this thought process is one of the Yetser's tricks. But he wants you to weaken yourself from and find the truth of what you learned. Therefore, he pulls you into thinking that no, I know already. I know already. Don't tell me to learn it again. Don't tell me that maybe I don't know it. I know it. And I'm not lacking any knowledge that's necessary there. On the bottom, the lazy person, in his eyes, is smarter than Mishiva Mishive Tam, Mishivas HaChachamim Reipnei Amel. In his eyes, he's smarter than the 7 advisors of the king, that they are able to respond to all the questions. The Otzel, so here he is saying it has to do with an Otzel, but the Otzel, he feels, I know, and it's coming because he's an Otzel. He brings another pasuk in Koheles. No, excuse me. In pasuk in Mishnah, another pasuk in Mishnah, Reisi ish chocham be'inav, tikul etzir mimena. You saw a person who feels he's wise. A ksil has more hope than him. On the bottom again, when you see a person who feels he's smarter than others, and we have to look at it in the mirror. If we find ourselves feeling that we know better than the next person, then Shlomo HaMelech is telling us that, you know what? Someone who views himself as a fool, who doesn't know, who is better than him. Then they should learn him because that person says, I don't know. I just saw this, I had said it, Misvara, last time we learned this, that Chazal referred to people as Talmud Chacham because only someone who views himself still as a Talmud that he's learning is also a Chacham. Someone who's a Chacham, who feels he's a Chacham and he's not a Talmud Chacham, then Tzolmach is saying, Tikva Tzil Mimena. Tzil has more hope than him. Someone who feels that he's wise and he knows, he's not going to learn from anybody else. He's closed it. And in his eyes, he feels, why should I? Because I know. But Tzolmach is saying, you're making a mistake. That's the Yetzer Hara talking. Because there's no such thing as you know. There's always more to learn. There's always another level. There's always, you've grown. Open your mind to another possibility. Always be looking for more. In other words, means that his eyes are still at the beginning, but he started. He says, a chacham is ein of beroishai b'tchilas inyan v'masha over alav minyonei terosei v'alamai. He's always reviewing. A chacham is always reviewing. Here he's in a positive note. He's always reviewing what he learned. And he learns from his past. He builds on it. And he strengthens himself in the good, and he repents from the bad. I'm on top, on the bottom. I don't know where I am. On page the Chacham gazes at his beginnings, and he gives thought to what he went through, whether it was through learning Torah, and he examines them. He always examines them because he wants to grow. He wants to change. He doesn't stay static and say, I know. And based on that, he's able to continue in what he sees as good. But the foolish person, he looks away from all of this. Like someone traveling at night in the dark on a long trip. He doesn't look back. He won't see anything because it's dark. He just focuses on the front. And why is that bad? And therefore, Shlomo Melech, who, when he wants to talk about the foolish person who doesn't look back and examine his past, he's like the person going in the dark that he doesn't see the back. Again, he compares the Chacham to the Or, and the Ksil to the Choshech, the Or. The Chacham with the Or is able to examine light. He's able to examine his actions, see what has to change, what he could understand in a new way, while the Ksil is like in the Choshech. Let me see what Ramat says on this. Okay. So says Ramat Yisrael, he said that though it's true that the fact that I don't relearn things and revisit things and examine things is based on Atzlus, but he says the haLevavos says giving us another trait, another reason why we don't do it. And that's the Gaiva. Right? That the Gaiva tells us there's no reason. Shema Adam on page Kuf Chesam. So if a person does come to a new clarity in his understanding, a new depth, then that he has to admit, I didn't understand. Yesterday I thought I knew everything and understood things. Suddenly I have a new understanding, a new comprehension. That requires a humility of saying, yeah, I was wrong yesterday. And what I thought was pshat was wrong. Yesterday in the Beis Medrash, I fought and I argued on my stand, right? Today, I suddenly have a new, I went back and I looked at it again. It takes humility to say, I made a mistake. I was wrong. I was so sure yesterday. I was positive. It was so clear to me. And today, I have to be able to look at it and say, and I gave it a new look and I suddenly see, wow, a new depth. And perhaps the way I understood it was wrong. That takes humility. And the guy doesn't necessarily let you do that. You have to admit, I wasn't so smart. So the Gaiva holds a person back from saying and thinking that way. And therefore he stays stuck in his earlier comprehensions. Yizem mipita yetzer shirasha lo yisem yayin machkar alimas anyanim hayetzer moines adam lahas gelumar da'ayin machad flenyan yetzahara holds the person back from revisiting and relearning the thing again anew, right? Because of what we're saying. Let's skip over here a little. To the next column, V'yoshev and Ara. Chiddush Rabbeinu b'bir pasuk zeh. He's a chocha. The haLevavos gave us a new pshat in this pasuk. Shabedech kol anu mefarshim. Generally, we understand the pasuk chocha menu b'roishay. We explain it derech the same way that Chazal teach us in Pirkei Avos. Ezu chocha marayas anoilad. Chocha menu b'roishay means he sees the future. A wise person, he's royer than noilad, and he's able to see what the future. Many times, Gedolim made decisions, even though there are people challenge that, like what's it, but they were able to see down the road that if we go the other way, now it looks fine, but what will it bring to? What will be the effect in 10 years, in 20 years, in 30 years? And based on that, they made decisions. So normally we understand the pasuk in Koheles, at the beginning, he understands and sees what the end is. haLevavos understanding it a new way. Means he sees the roish, like the roish, the beginning. Now, that the Chacham always goes back. What can I do better? What can I understand better? Let me go back, learn it again. You see the people, the Talmidei Chacham, they learn the Rashi again, and then they'll learn it again. They'll do the Gemara again. Don't you know it already? No, I'll learn it again. And I'll come on, and then they come up with a new understanding. And he learns from his nisyonim, his what he's gone through, right? Of what he understood and good of what he did, and therefore, in all aspects of learning Torah, the Chacham is always willing to go back and review b'chol ace. Maybe he'll pick something up that he didn't pick up the last time. So many times you learn something, and then you learn it a second time, and a third time, and a fourth time, and suddenly you have a new clarity, you have a new point, you understand a certain statement in the Gemara in a new way. When we have the Gedolim who've learned Shas 100 times, like, what were they doing? They know it already verbatim, right? What? No, because as they learned it another time, there were new insights, there were new understandings, new applications, new ways of understanding it. And that comes from a humility. The Bible says, I know it. I know it. I can read it off to you. I'll explain it to you. No problem. Sit down. I'll say shir. The Chacham says, I'm going back. Maybe I didn't. Maybe there's a new thing. Maybe there's a different thing. Maybe there's another way of understanding. Etc. Haksil misnaig lehepach on page Kuftes. The Haksil acts in the other way. He doesn't go back to the beginning because he's assuming he knows. Why do I have to go back? So he doesn't learn from the past. And that's considered you're going in the darkness. Haksil continues on the understandings that he had in the past, and he built on that, and he doesn't take second looks and third looks and fourth looks to learn. Now I'm more mature, and now I understand things better. My mind has grown. I'm an adult. Let me take another look. Maybe my hanachas were wrong. Maybe what I built, my whole buildings, my whole philosophy, my whole understandings in Gemara, there was mistakes there. He doesn't. Maybe there's another way to understand it. But if you know something in a deeper way, tonight I understood it on a more superficial way, but now my mind is capable of deeper concepts. Okay, so up to number 25. There's Hashem. Learn tomorrow.